Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and a leadership expert, and today I am coming to you from the mountains. Okay, I'm actually not. This is a lie. But because I record in advance, by the time that this episode goes out, I am going to be skiing / swooshing, that's my skiing noise, down the slopes in Flaine. So I'm really, really excited. I will be in France, having just flown into Geneva, 2-hour transfer. In France, I'll be swooshing down the slopes like a pro, probably on my bum. So not massively pro, but that's where I'm going to be. So hopefully you are as excited as I am about listening to this episode, because while you're listening to it, I'm going to either be flat on my ass on a mountain or skiing like an expert, or, and this is the most likely option, already damaged from skiing and in the spa drinking wine. So today's episode is actually inspired by a really good friend of mine who came to me with a great question a couple of weeks ago. And it's all about what to do when you basically have nothing to do. You know, in other words, making sure that you are always booked out. So this is a really interesting one, and it tends to happen for people who are dealing with services that are one-to-one. Okay, so if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, a VA, a web designer, anything where you're providing a service that involves you helping somebody on a one-on-one basis rather than a one-to-many basis, this great thing happens. Okay, we get booked out and we're like, woohoo! Feel like a sales god, ready for anything, rocking absolutely the business model. And we get booked out and we're like, okay, great, I'm booked now for 3 months in advance, because the reality is that you can only take so many clients at one time if you're working with them one-on-one and making sure that you're delivering effectively. However, what then usually happens is that you have 3 months or 6 months or 12 months even, depending on how long your packages are, where you are acing it, right? There's regular money coming in every month. You know, you are happy with your revenue and you're not really trying that hard because, let's face it, you're already bringing in the money that you want. However, as soon as that 3 month, 6 month, 12-month period is up, there's suddenly this like panic where you go, oh crap, what do I do now? I have no clients. And that's where we see people often spike into that feast or famine mode. You know, you have 3 months of feasting, everything's great. And then suddenly you're like, I need clients and I need them yesterday. And in all honesty, it's not a healthy way for your business to operate, but it's not unusual. Okay. When we come into the online space, people just talk about, yeah, get booked up, get a ton of clients. And that's fantastic, obviously. But what we don't always talk about is the reality of the tasks that you still need to be doing when you're at the point that you are fully booked. Okay, so what happens when you are full of one-on-one clients and you are having to deliver to 5 to 10 people every month? How much work can you realistically do? And actually, what should you be spending your time on? You know, is it that you need to write more blogs for your website and focus on SEO? Or is it that you need to be focusing on different types of money-making or lead generation activities? So that's what we're going to be talking about today, which I am super excited. I mean, I feel like it's one of those lessons that actually came from my corporate career. This is something that we would do all the time. We would be constantly planning what we called our sales pipeline and looking at the deals that would be coming in over the coming months. So we used to schedule quarterly and we'd be looking at every deal that would be coming in that quarter. And then as we started to wind down, which is particularly appropriate now that we're in March, we're in the final month of the first quarter of this year. Can't quite believe how quickly that's gone. We'd start looking at what would be coming up in the next quarter. What business was there? What pipeline was there? You know, were we going to be able to produce any clients? Were things that we were doing going to, in this quarter going to pay off next quarter, or were they going to fall into the right one? And so it's one of those ways that, or one of those things that you really do want to be focusing on. You do want to know your sales pipeline, and you do want to be able to consistently plan and consistently schedule your sales strategically. But also you want to make sure that you're never in a position where you've got all of your eggs in one basket. Okay. And there are really easy ways to do this. So let's dive in. Let's take a look and see where we are with it all. Now, you're going to have to bear with me. I've had today, in fact, this weekend, I have, because obviously I record my episodes on a Monday, it's been a little bit drama filled. So I'm actually recording this to my living room and I'm constantly turning to the right. As some of you may remember from a previous episode about, 12 weeks ago, there was the fish were doomed. Okay, so we bought a fish tank like October last year, and we've had a lot of sets of fish have gone through it. And so yesterday was Sunday. I was having a nice day. My boyfriend was off having a boys' weekend. He was doing, playing some squash, playing some badminton, doing some boy things. And I was sat here and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And in typical Jess fashion, I thought I might have a lazy day. And I was having my lazy day and it was all going very well. And then I realized that there was like a chip in the little bit of the wall. I don't really know what you call it. Someone will have to tell me this. The skirting board, that's what it is. So there's a little bit of a chip in the paint on one of the skirting boards. And so I looked at it and it was really driving me nuts. And when you are as control freak as I am, you kind of, it plays on your mind. So I sat here and I was like, right, okay, I'm just gonna pause Gavin and Stacey, which was the Netflix series of the weekend that I happened to be binging. So I'm just going to pause this. I'm just going to go and get the paint out the cupboard. I'm just going to paint that little bit of the skirting board. Now, obviously, once you paint a tiny bit of the skirting board, if you don't paint the rest of it, it all looks really odd. So I ended up painting the skirting boards. And then once I finished that, I was like, well, now there's like little paint chips everywhere. So I'm just going to hoover. So I start hoovering up. And then I come back into the living room, having cleaned the entire place, thinking, I'm just going to chill. Just going to chill. And sit in my favorite spot. And I look to my right and there is a fish in the rocks, dead. Okay, so it's very, very dead. And at this point I cry because I get very upset when things die. And so I go and get out, usually when this happens, I usually call my boyfriend and say, oh my God, the fish is dead. And I sort of like cry down the phone to him as I'm fishing it out and removing it, just so that somebody else gets to experience the joy. However, he was on this boys' weekend and I was like, I don't really want to do that. So I get out what we call the dead fish stick, aptly named, because we have a tall cylindrical tank. So you actually have to kind of, without sounding and giving too much gross information, you actually have to poke them out with a stick until they float, which is just a horrendous experience. So anyway, as I'm poking away at this fish, part of its tail comes off and I simultaneously shriek, oh my God, this is gross, and cry more because obviously I'm now devastated that not only is the fish dead, but I have actually, massacred it in some way. So if I pause, it's because I'm looking to my right and just checking that the other ones are survivors. Having cleaned out the fish tank about 3 times in the last 24 hours, I'm hoping that they pull through. But if I do stop, it's just because I'm looking at them and checking on them. And if I do start crying, then, you'll know that a fish has actually bombed it. Okay. So anyway, let's look at what happens when you are fully booked. Firstly, congrats. It's a great place to be. When we're fully booked, it's actually it's a good confidence boost. And the funny thing is that when we don't need the money, when we don't need to make sales, it's actually easier to do. So if you're in that position where you're like, oh my goodness, I've just worked really, really hard. I'm now fully booked. I've got these one-on-one clients. Fantastic. The good news is that you are in the prime time to sell something else super successfully. Because actually, the great thing about having money in the bank is that you have a certain level of detachment towards making more money. Okay, so that means that when you go onto sales calls, you are very detached from the outcome. You're not thinking this is paying the rent, the mortgage, the VA. You're thinking, be cool if this landed. If not, I'm going to go away and eat my truffles, crisps, drink my wine, whatever your choice is. So in that vein, what we need to look at when you're actually fully booked is how can you leverage that detachment to sell more things without making it horrendous for yourself? Because ultimately what we don't want to do is put you in a situation where you are now fully booked with clients and you're thinking, yeah, but Jess told me it was easy to make sales, so I'm going to go sell some more one-on-one stuff. And then actually you're in a position that you cannot deliver. Okay, you physically are putting yourself in that space where you cannot cope with the level of client delivery that's expected, and it all goes tits up. I was trying to think in my head there of a better phrase, but just couldn't. So the first thing that we can look at is have a waiting list. Now, everybody tends to think when they're fully booked, oh great, I'm fully booked, and people just be around in 3 months, and that sadly isn't always how it is. So if you're somebody who's working primarily one-to-one, you've got high ticket offer, you're doing some one-on-one coaching, and you're thinking, yeah, no worries, this time it's really popular, so in 3 months' time, I'm sure it'll be the same. Take off the rose-tinted glasses for a second and think about developing a waitlist. And when I say waitlist, yes, I mean normal email waiting list where you can email them out and just let them know when spaces are coming in available. But also think about your most engaged or ready to buy people for the waiting list. Is it worth asking them to pay a deposit to hold their spot? So for example, if you know that you don't have a slot coming free, this week or next week, but you have one in a month, it is worth offering them that slot and saying, look, between now and then, I can give you some homework of what you should be going away and doing and preparing to maximize our time together. And then I can work with you in a month's time and we can get everything sorted and we can put you into this package. In order to do that though, I need to take a holding deposit so I make sure that you are committing to these sessions. Most people are over the moon to do that. One, it means that they're getting some immediate work that they can go away and do. They can get some immediate results, get some quick wins in. And two, it means that they know you are committed to having them in your diary, solving their problems in a month. And actually that takes a lot of pressure off people. So think about whether or not you can have a wait list, how quickly people are finishing up with you, and whether or not deposits are something that you want to start implementing to keep you consistent with cash flow and also keep people's commitment levels consistent. Think about it from your audience's perspective. If you've just spent a few weeks selling out your one-to-one, it's quite likely you've been stirring up the pain for them. So now they're in a position where actually they are struggling with, their health, their relationship, their marketing, sales, lead generation, whatever. And if you don't have any spots, it's quite likely they will go and try and find somebody else who can help them. So having that wait list, having that deposit-based wait list will give you a really, really good, solid commitment from them. And it will also make sure that they stay within your circle and that they're ready to be helped in a month or in 2 months' time. Now, if your lead time is a bit longer than that, so say you've sold out your practice, your coaching or consulting practice right now, and you know that the only spaces that will come up are going to be in about 3 months' time, and that you don't have any more client delivery time available, you can now start thinking about, can you create a group program? Okay, so typically what happens is when we're booking out our one-to-one practices anyway, we'll often find that a lot of people will go, yeah, that's wonderful, let's sign me up. That's how you get booked out. Awesome. And there'll also be people who say, that sounds great, but I can't afford it right now. Okay. And they genuinely mean it. For them, the price tag for the one-to-one is just out of their budget and it's not going to happen right now. However, if you were to run a group program around something specific, so a specific element, so for example, I'm a sales coach. If I decided that, lots of my audience had a real big problem with lead generation, I might decide to run a 6-week mini course on generating quality leads through organic marketing. Okay, so I might decide to do that, and I might decide to launch that as a group program, because I may not have time to deliver to a one-to-one client that might take 3 to 4 hours a week of prep work, call work, answering questions, doing all that stuff. But I may have 90 minutes to 2 hours a week that I could run a group Q&A, and I could answer 20 people's questions on lead generation, as well as supporting them with automated resources, course modules, videos, worksheets, a private Facebook community where they can ask questions. Okay, so if you're fully booked out with one-on-one, now is your time to look at, can I increase my revenue and start decreasing my time by implementing hybrid group programs, things like masterminds, anything where you have that group element, even intensives. You could start booking out day intensives or half-day intensives just to save you time, but to keep your revenue consistent, okay? The other thing that you want to be thinking about when you are fully booked out one-on-one, and this works particularly well if you are somebody who's operating in a done-for-you space, so VA, OBM, web designer, graphic designer, branding person, anything like that, is starting to think about hiring. So I meet lots of really, really talented people, and especially I've seen lots and lots of VAs recently who've been fantastic. They really care about their clients. They get the job done. They know exactly how they want to help people. They've got the strategy there. They know what they're doing, but they max out at about 5 or 6 clients because physically they don't have any more time. There's only so many hours in a month. And if you're offering one person 20 hours and one person 30 hours and one person 10 hours, the likelihood is that you're actually close to capacity every week and that you're not going to be able to find enough time to work on their businesses and yours. So, you'd be cutting off your business at a certain point. Now, the easiest way to deal with that is to actually start hiring into your team. And instead of thinking of yourself as a solopreneur, starting to think of yourself as a business owner. Okay, so if, for example, you are a VA and you know that you get tons of clients who are looking for, changes to their website, you might consider reaching out, leveraging your network and finding a web designer that you can pay per project or that you can pay per hour and bring onto your team full time, which leaves you more time to do the strategic stuff or the stuff that you enjoy, and it means that you can take on more clients to pay for that. So, outsourcing and hiring should be a real key part of your strategy if you are looking to grow your business, you're looking to grow your revenue, but you physically cannot fit in any more hours yourself, okay? The same goes for you if you are somebody who is a coach or a consultant and you're starting to think that actually you're spending a lot of time on tasks that you are not qualified to do or that you don't enjoy. So it might be the back end system side of your business that you aren't enjoying and that actually you don't want to be spending any more time on. It might be that actually you, for example, could be somebody teaching Facebook ads. And actually what you want to do is have a series or introduce some people that you respect and that you know create amazing ads and get great results. Might be that you bring on a few of those people and introduce a done for you service for your existing clients or for your community, and you start expanding your business that way. So don't always assume that hiring only means outsourcing the tech or outsourcing the systems in your business or the customer service. Think about strategic ways that you can actually hire other people and leverage them to grow your business into a different style of entity, giving you the freedom that you want, helping you deliver to more clients, helping create a bigger message, but not taking up any extra time so that you're not giving up the time with your family and that kind of thing. And then the final thing that you want to be thinking about when you are fully booked out and you're thinking, well, what else can I be doing? If you, and this is the case for most people. Most people just think, well, I just want to continue with one-on-one. I really enjoy it. And that might be you. You might be thinking, well, actually, Jess, I don't want to change my business model. The waiting list thing sounds cool, but actually one of the big things that I need to be doing is focusing on growing my tribe. Okay. And that's really important. When we look at scaling to 6 figures, beyond 6 figures, ultimately we need to be building our audience consistently. So when you're booked out, it can be really easy to fall into the trap of not going out and doing consistent lead generation activities. Okay. It can be really easy to think, oh, I don't really have to do the list building stuff. I don't really have to grow my free Facebook community because actually I'm making the money. So is what it is. When you're fully booked, it's the most important time to be doing this lead generation activity drive. It's the most important time to be building relationships with your existing audience and be trying to generate relationships with your new audience, because obviously this is the time when you're building out that pipeline. And the easiest way to build out your pipeline is to keep generating these relationships. So you want to be thinking about what kind of lead generation activities are you doing? Because obviously these are things that you want to be nurturing people, you want to be generating leads, but if you don't have anything else to sell them into, so if you don't have a group program, if you don't have a small passive income product or something like that, you want to be nurturing them and you want to be making them aware of what the next steps are and giving them the ability to plan it. So if you are somebody who just wants to stay in one-to-one, I say just, if you are somebody who's committed to staying with one-to-one as their business model, then you need to be letting your audience know regularly, look, these are when the next spaces are coming up. This is what you can cover. Let's get on discovery calls and we can book you into the waiting list or get your deposit paid and make sure that you've got a spot when it's next available, or selling them into a group program or offering them tripwire offers regularly that are just going to help them out. If you've got a book, if you've got a small tripwire offer, things like that can just help them with an immediate problem and keep them in your circle and excited to buy from you when the time comes at the level that you have. All right. Again, when I was talking to my friend about this, one of the things that she said that was really interesting was I didn't really know what tasks to do. I didn't really know whether I should bother going and guest blogging, whether I should be updating my website, creating new opt-ins. There are just so many things in the online world. And so what I usually say to people is that in your business, you should be doing 3 activities every day. 1 revenue generating activity, 1 branding and visibility activity, and 1 learning and development activity. Now, if you're fully booked out, the money making activity, unless you are focusing on creating a group program or something like that, it doesn't become less important, but you tend to spend less time on it if you have nothing else to offer. In that instance, it's then time to spend a little bit more time on your branding and visibility activities, okay? And focusing on getting your brand, getting your credibility, getting your business out into the public eye. Now, depending on how you like to do that is up to you. So for me, it's PR. When I'm fully booked out in my business and I'm focusing on generating a new pipeline or bringing new people into my audience, my focus is PR. Where can I get featured? Where can I write for? I have the time at that point to invest in writing articles, in speaking, in giving sound bites that will bring leads actively into my business. For some people, it's about appearing on telesummits or giveaways, podcast interviews, going out and doing things where people will see them in action, so that ultimately they're driving more traffic back. They're being able to drive people back to build a relationship for them and warm them up in the same instance. And for some people, it's plain old list building, the basics that we talk about, creating new opt-ins, publicizing them, trying them with ads and, building their first automated funnel or their 50th, depending on where you are. But the key thing about it is that you're doing it and that you are doing it daily. Because otherwise you will find yourself in a position where you're waking up and going, oh God, I don't have clients right now. I need them immediately. And guess what? My audience is smaller than I expected. And I'm now going to have to do a lot of work. Okay. So simple wrap up for today. If you are at the point in your business where you are booked out, woohoo, then the things that you need to be thinking about or considering are having a waiting list and making people pay deposits for the next spot that comes up. Making sure that you're planning your launches strategically. After creating and selling out a one-to-one offer, it can be a really good time to launch a group program. Thinking about hiring into your team, making sure that you are outsourcing the correct tasks, potentially making more time for you, or outsourcing the delivery for your clients. And then thinking about your consistent lead generation. and strategically building relationships with your existing audience, and also bringing more people into your community, so that when you wake up in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, you have people there that you can be selling to who are already nurtured. They know you, they like you, they trust you, and they are your warmest audience, and they're ready to buy. Now, if you are struggling to schedule your sales activities and you want to have access to the exact way that I schedule my sales activities, my money-making activities, my branding and visibility activities, my learning and development activities, and get access to my financial tracker, the only metrics that I care about, and my secret sales source formula, then you can actually pick it up in the planner that we've just launched. It's my 90-day Smart Leaders Sell Planner. The links are at the bottom of the show notes for this episode. You can go there, you can check it out, see what it looks like. It is in no way a traditional planner. And I want to be really super clear about that, because normal, I'm doing the air quotes on my own. The normal sales planners and the normal planners have lots of space that I feel is wasted for time. And it goes from like 7 a.m. until the morning, till 10 p.m. at night. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I have a Google Calendar for that. I can tell you where my meetings are, and my computer can tell you where my meetings are. What I can't do is immediately see what kind of revenue generating activities I've done that day. How has it impacted my business? How much money have I made? How much have I left on the table? So if you go ahead, take a look at the planner, you will get access to all of that and a ton more. There is even a video on, the way that the planner works in my business and how you can tailor it to work for yours. So make sure you go and check out the link. If you struggle to schedule for selling success, you can go and have a look at that. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, let me know. Hit me up with a little review on iTunes. We have stagnated at about 80, which is awesome. I love everyone that has left us a review. But if you are somebody who feels like you've got a lot of value from the podcast, you've been enjoying it, I would really love to hear your thoughts. You can also hop over into the free Facebook community, get a weekly live training there every single week. It's the Smart Leaders Sales Society. Obviously, I won't be there tomorrow giving live training because I will be falling/skiing down a mountain. I hope you have an incredible week. I am back on Friday with an amazing entrepreneur and an amazing sales question. I will see you in the next episode.